Black people do not want land.
Come on, the Black Pen.
This is like leadership.
Yeah.
When you want land, you take land. I mean, it's not rocket science. We have so much land in this country, so much. Almost 15% of the land is under Amakosi. Almost 15% of the land is under state ownership. That's about 30% under black leadership owner, 30%. We as ordinary people, the young leaders I'm speaking to, if you could just adopt, like Orania, your neighborhood and say, I will turn this into Dubai, I will turn this into Hong Kong, I will turn this into Sandton, Mhlanga, Camps Bay. That's my project. That's all we ever ask of you. I do not think leaders are appointed. I do not think leaders are voted for or elected. I believe true leaders exist and they lead. They don't need permission. They don't need a qualification. They don't need anyone's approval.
As far as the North Pole is from the South, we are bridging the knowledge gap from centuries past. We inspire you to find your true North. From Timbuktu to Alexandria, from the city of Johannesburg to New York, from the Zulus to the Dogon people, we're disrupting the knowledge economy. We are Sir Max Network.
A human mind is one of the most powerful tools for humanity. In fact, it is the cause of its own happiness or misery. A human mind, ladies and gentlemen, is a theater. It's a studio. It is where dreams are made of. That is why the mind functions in terms of images and not words. When you speak, when you read, or when you think, words are immediately transcribed into images. That is why the subconscious mind cannot differentiate between an event that is imagined or one that happened in reality. So if you want your life to follow the beautiful life, it means your mind must be dominated by beautiful thoughts, ideas, and all the thoughts that you have. So your mind will always follow the direction of the picture that you fill it with. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a great honor and a great privilege that I'm hosting one of the men that I admire so much in this field. He's a South African podcaster. He's an author and a founder of Penualism, which is a personal belief system. Penuel the Black Pen. Peninto, welcome to the show, brother.
Come on, Sir Max. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add, man, in your beautiful, beautiful introduction that Bishop T.D. Jakes says that the mind is the battleground.
Yeah.
It is where the greatest conflict lies. And if you can conquer your mind, if you can take back your mind that was colonized by those before, that is where you'll find your greatest peace and your greatest success as well. So thank you so much for having me here, sir. I am honored to be here. I'm so proud of the work you're doing. And although I'm worried about the views you'll get for now, because you're going for high level intellectual conversations, I think the challenge for people like yourself is to say, if we are doing intellectual conversations, that means we can't just think local.
Yeah.
We need to think global. Because unfortunately, intellectualism is a niche elite space. So you will be limited just by design.
True.
Which means you need to then go out into the world. So I'm wishing you the best of luck in terms of your global success.
Thank you very much, brother, for those kind words. And thank you for coming. You have inspired us to follow this path. You are one of the groundbreakers in the podcasting space in South Africa. Having difficult conversations, by the way. So I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Looking forward to this conversation. I mean, the smallanyana brief I was given had my heart beating fast because this is one of the key and sore points of where we find ourselves in society.
We're still back there. We still can't go forward. But let me allow you, to go in any direction. The state of a black man today. Your thoughts?
No problem. I'm going to try and give the briefest of histories. First and foremost, the concept of black is a human creation. So there is no such thing as black. There is no such thing as white. When it was convenient in Europe with the European elite to see that the European middle class and the poor were uprising, they needed to find an enemy. And how they defined enemies was based on their skin tone. So brown people being the Indians or people from Western Asia, the yellow people being the Asians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Korean, and then black people being us on the African continent. And in doing that, whenever there were problems, in the same way people always look for excuses today, the European elite would say to the European peasants and the lower classes, your problems are the black, brown, and yellow people. And in that, they created this concept of race. Because even if you look in the African context, we never called ourselves black. Because we're not even black. We were brown people with different shades. Yeah. And where it becomes relevant is where what we call black people today were conquered. And we were conquered in two ways. Largely. There are many other ways, but specifically these ones. The first one is physical and the second one is psychological, mental. I'm not sure if your mic is going to be fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine, yeah.
So the physical one is easy to find. We speak about the scramble for Africa after the Berlin Conference, where some European countries decided they will go and basically create borders on the African continent and say, this is mine, this is mine. Imagine us going to Europe today and saying, wherever you find mountains, those are now mine. They belong to Max.
Picking and choosing.
Wherever you find rivers, those are mine, Pen. They literally did that with deep condescension, with deep white supremacy, feeling entitled to lands that were not theirs. And then we have what we call colonialism now. The Spaniards, the Portuguese, the French, the British, and a couple of other nations on the African continent, the Belgians in Zaire, or what we call the DRC today. In the South African context, we had visitors in the past year, specifically the Portuguese. This was before the Dutch settled. So we had your Vasco da Gama, we had your Bartholomew Diaz, who had come here because we were a midpoint between Europe going to the east to fetch silk and spices, etc. It would be the Dutch East India Company, and specifically led by Jan van Riebeeck, who would then settle in 1652 in the Cape. Other people had come in the eastern parts, what was called Natal, specifically the Portuguese again, because Natal is named after a Portuguese term for Christmas, because they landed around Christmas in that time. But what we call colonization in South Africa officially started in 1652. That was just the Cape. But the British would formalize that colonization in 1806 in the Cape only. And then they would move across the whole country and then create a union on South Africa in 1910. That would be, I think, over 100 years, let's say 120, whatever the case may be. From a union of South Africa in 1910, they formalized our government and this country and the borders, which is what we have today. The Oppenheimers with Anglo-American would formalize government, etc. And then we'd have that up until 1948, which is when the Afrikaners would take over, and we'd have apartheid until 1994. Apartheid was 48 years. That Union of South Africa was 38 years. But if you look at the combination of all of that, it goes to about 200 years of European ownership and dominion here. That's physical. There were fights. There were frontier wars, Amaxhosa wars in the Cape colonies. And then there were other fights around the rest of the country. They formalized, they had the Cape, they had the Transvaal, they had Natal, etc. And at a time when the Afrikaners and the British started working together, black people were left out. And with apartheid, not only were they left out, but they were shifted off of their land, forced. This is now physical domination by these people, and where the conquest is. Because if we had fought back and we'd won, that would not have happened. If you look at how the Zulu nation was built, it was built of violence. If you look at how some of the other tribal nations became strong, they were built of violence. It may not have been explicit, but it was a leader or a king saying, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I have an army. So you guys either bow to me or you go away. So violence is one of the ways that what we call white people did in conquering South Africa as we know it for black people. The second one, and the one that's most important, is the psychological one. And this is where we look at things like spirituality. Our spirituality was taken away from us. It was taken away that we have the power to connect to God in our way. And we can only connect to a God or a higher power through a European way. And I'm calling it European because Christianity was brought by the Europeans. We're not an Islamic nation. If we were like parts of Africa, then we'd say by the Arabs or whoever. But it was brought by the Europeans, and they whitewashed what Christianity was, because Christianity was also not a white religion for anyone that understands history. But they used it as a tool to get into the minds of black people and black men. And in doing that, they brought religion, and in bringing religion, they needed you to plug in, and to plug in, they needed to teach you their languages. Today we speak English. And when you learn a language, you learn a culture. There's no other way. Any language you pick up requires you to understand the music, the food, the jokes, whatever the history is. So we become mini British people in speaking English. And in doing that, they then add us to their Roman Dutch law. They bring us into their schooling system. And where we are today in 2025, the black man, the black woman has lost his land through physical conquest. And then they've lost their minds through a form of psychological, where you started, the mind. They took over our minds. And where we are trying to find ourselves, never mind dominate white people, just to be, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm African and I'm proud. I can worship my God my way. I can eat my food. I can practice my own medicine. I can wear my own clothes. I can educate my kids how I want. I can run my economy the way I want. That has been taken away from the black man just to do for himself. Never mind to conquer other people, to bow into their ways of doing. And to answer your question, it's just, that is where we lost it.
Yeah.
And with that, now we have every other ill that we have today.
What a beautiful introduction and prelude. So that's what happened to a black man.
Yes.
You know, many years back, I read a quote that says we are trying to undo centuries of colonization and apartheid in just 30 years.
Yes.
You know the Willie Lynch letter in 1910, if I'm not mistaken. You know, how they were making slaves out of black people, but destroying and getting into their minds. Are we impatient with a black man? And when I'm saying with a black man, myself included, are we impatient with ourselves? Given what you've just painted right now, are we impatient?
I am impatient. I'm impatient, but I think I'm well within my rights to become impatient. I say this because many people use the excuse of, let's say, colonialism in South Africa is over 200 years old. And then people speak about the transatlantic slave trade, your Willie Lynch, the slave masters who decided on how to create a template on building a weakened slave, and all types of colonialism on the African continent, etc. You don't need 200 years. You don't need 50 years. You don't need... And I say this not from a outcome perspective. We are not so much looking at we have now arrived at the promised land. The problem is we are not moving in that direction. So we can say 30 years now, but are you telling me that it's 30 years of us moving towards being proudly African and being decolonized? Or are you measuring 30 years to say how many black people have we put into a white space who are living like whites? And if that is your measure, you have completely lost it. And that's why 100, 200, 500 years from now, you'll still be frustrated. Because you still haven't decoded what it means to be African, to be yourself, and what it means in the modern time. So my impatience and my frustration, specifically with black people and specifically in South Africa, is that we're not moving in the right direction. And how you see that is in small things. Do we define how our families operate? No. Do we define our laws? No. Do we define our economy? No. Do we define our schooling and how we educate our kids? No. All of that is prescribed. We'll still say it's a South African white system, but to be honest, today it is an American system. It is a British, it is a European system that dictates through the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum. They dictate to us. They decide if we must buy into LGBTQI+, if we must devalue our currency, if we must export. Today we're speaking about tariffs. We're told we can't do this because we won't get foreign direct investors. That's all rubbish because it is not being dictated by us, including things like borders. Today we're fighting with our African brothers and sisters, correctly or incorrectly so, but we are not having conversations with each other. Someone said, Max, here's a line, you are a foreigner. And today I'm fighting with you instead of sitting with you and saying, my brother, listen. So there were white people who came here very mischievously and said there's now a fence, and they dictated that you are Zimbabwe and I am South African, but we are both Ndebele. We both have the same grandparents.
Exactly, yeah.
So we need to decide now, do we open a gate here? And at the gate, we'll have one of our family members to say, hey, Max, you're visiting. Hey, welcome, brother, and come through. We don't need a visa we know who we are. And if there's anyone we don't want, whether it's Nigerian, Pakistani, whether it is German, we decide. We don't get told that, no, the Germans must come in. These are investors. The Americans must come in. These are tourists. Oh, did you see the Malawians? Why are they here? Abahambe. And you're like, who is deciding that for you? And this goes back to the psychological now, where we are so psychologically contained that we don't even dictate our own terms. And for me, as long as black people are not deciding and dictating for themselves, not with a white directive, there will never be freedom, number one. And number two, and this is the more urgent issue we have, what we call leaders today are not black leaders. They are security guards of white supremacy and white wealth and white privilege in the most disgusting way possible. We can speak about our politicians. Those ones are the easiest. You see them when they go to the White House and they beg. You see them when they go and bow to the Queen or the King in England. You see them when they go to all of these UN World Economic Forums, and they come back and they want to tell us what they were told to do and to set in our economic policy. And that one is clear. They are funded by the wealthy. They operate on systems of governance that were not created by Africans. That one's clear. What is not clear is when you start looking at the spiritual or the religious leaders. These guys are not pushing an African agenda. When you look at our traditional leaders, our kings and our chiefs, these people are not pushing an African agenda. So when you yell Bayete, when you yell Amandla, when you say Hallelujah, Amen, none of that is speaking to fixing yourself as the black man, psychologically, physically, yourself as the black woman, psychologically, physically, and then your children. Such that when you meet a woman, you speak and you say, my lady, you look so beautiful, you're so pretty, I want to create something with you. And she says, yes, I see the same in you. And you come together and you define that. And you go to your families, and your own families don't tell you about paying imali, ilobolo. You're like, no, this is not African. We need to go back to the principles of we're uniting two families. How do we help each other build? How do we as families thank each other for these two children finding? That's the principle.
True.
Don't tell me about money and even cows, because we don't have cows.
True.
Why would you speak about cows knowing full well that the black African man has no land, has got no kraal, has got no cows, but you want to dictate? It's when you tell a black man that he must pay in cows, it is no different to telling a black man that he must go take a loan from a bank, because you're asking him to give off something he does not own, which means he must either go and steal it from someone else, or you're asking him to go and sweat for someone else's resources. You have destroyed that man. And who does that is what we call so-called culture. African culture was never built on the destruction of relationships and families. It was built on the building and the unification. And because you've got mischievous and corrupted kings and chiefs, they turn a blind eye and they don't mind this rubbish. Because you've got pastors and priests and religious leaders who are focused on tithing, and today they've got swiping machines in the churches, who drive fancy cars. Those guys cannot boast that ever since I built a church, everyone is in my church is employed. We don't have any unemployed people in my church. As soon as an unemployed person comes into my church, we ask them to stand up. The same way they say, come to the front to come and testify. Or if you're unemployed, come to the front of the church. We will pray for you. After praying for you, we will help you in the church, because there are business owners, there are people in corporate who can help you get a job. But pastors are not doing that. In the church, who doesn't have land? We as a church have land. We will make sure you have a home. And we'll make sure that you contribute. They're not doing that. They're about making money for themselves. They're about selling hope to the hopeless. Once the hopeless don't need hope, a pastor loses a business, sadly. And then, of course, the politicians, as I said, they will not give you the education which will help you build your family. They will not help you get the education that will give you skills. They will not help you get land. The South African government is hoarding a lot of land that belong to the people that they meant to redistribute. And some of them are giving, some of that land is being given to comrades at a cheap lease, etc. And they getting fat and making money off tenders and other corruption and BEE shares as well. Those guys need you to be as dependent on them as possible. You'd find the president of South Africa boasting 2-3 years ago about, we are now at 28 million social grant recipients. And as an enlightened man, you sit there and you're like, I feel like I'm in a mental asylum. He can't be celebrating what he's saying. He should be saying from 94, 96, we've gone from 10 million grant recipients. We are now at 2 million because now people are self-sufficient. We have now stopped the RDP plan because no one needs a home anymore. People now build their own homes with their own hands because they have the skills, they have the money. Guys, we are struggling now. We've got too much produce. As a government, we can't find enough markets around the world, like China, to say, where can we send our rooibos, our wine, our African crafts, our mining product? We are too rich. We are at a point now, like the United Arab Emirates, Dubai and the like, where we are so rich, South Africans need to import labor. If you look at how white people live in South Africa, they were so privileged. They needed to get black people to come work in their homes and to work in their gardens and their businesses because they're too rich. They don't need to do that. If you ever visit Dubai, the Emiratis, they don't work. They're too rich. So the people that work are from India, from Nepal, from Sri Lanka. There are South Africans that are there because they say, I don't need to clean here. I'm rich, but I can give you a job. And if you look at our mineral wealth, if you look at our agricultural wealth, if you look at our cultural wealth, the singing and the dancing and amapiano, South Africa should be one of the leading economies, and South African people are meant to be so wealthy that they go around the world begging, guys, we're looking for labor. If you're looking for a job, please come to South Africa. We'll employ you because we're too rich. And we've lost that. And it's because outside of blaming white supremacy, which is correct.
Yeah.
All of what we call leaders today, black leaders, are not black leaders. They are just security guards
Gatekeepers,
for the privilege of white supremacy. And in return, they get crumbs to keep all the other black people, number one, at bay, don't disrupt, and number two, to keep them ignorant and psychologically colonized so that they cannot uplift themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, Penuel the Black Pen, in his vintage way, leaving no stone unturned. I love listening to you, brother. You make a lot of sense. In essence, you saying at this point, direction is more important than speed.
100%.
We need now to focus on is this car turning? That was a profound point. Are we heading towards the right direction? So maybe where, as a nation, we need to define our values. What are our value system? What are our priorities? What is our vision? Where do we go? I mean, I normally tell people that we don't have born frees. Even kids that were born post 94, they're not born free. But how do we ensure that wheel is turning and now we start to focus on the most important things?
If there are any real leaders out there, if they exist, because we don't know anymore, they need to speak up. They need to be visible, and they need to define value systems. There's a reason we've got Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Rastafarianism, African spirituality. There's a reason why we've got Zulu, Xhosa, Ndebele, Xitsonga, Vavenda, etc. There were leaders that stood up and they said, this is my value system. And they found people who would then follow their guidance, normally on a piece of land. We need those type of leaders. I do not believe in the concept of a South African nation and a national identity, purely because we are so different. So the idea of trying to find one value system under one constitution, it doesn't work. I think the leaders need to stand up. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they are cultural or religious, or they have their own belief system like Penalism. This is what I stand for. This is where I'm going, to what you were saying about turning the car. This is where I'm going. In building a family, in making sure our economy is great. And we see it with the Muslims and the Jews here and the Afrikaners.
Yeah.
And once you do that, that leader must go out and preach and speak like Jesus Christ and find disciples and preach their gospel and then show effective change and then get people to come along with them and change their realities. That's what we need. It is not going to work on a countrywide level because our interests are different. They're very different.
But do those leaders have space? I mean, we've seen a couple of signs. It happened a few years back. We were talking about John Pombe Magufuli, you know.
Hey, may he rest in peace, Magufuli. From Tanzania.
Yeah, from Tanzania. We spoke about Kagame, and now we're changing the tone a little bit. Yeah. Now Traore is the man. Do we have pockets of that brilliance in terms of leadership that we are seeing?
This is why I'm saying it's difficult to see now, because some of them, it starts off as a small fire and then we don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
You'd see, of course, the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, has been a firebrand leader from his ANC Youth League days. He inspired many of us. I guess you can add Floyd Shibambu to that as well. You want to say something?
You look like I've watched your work. It
Yeah.
looks like you don't agree with Julius Malema.
No, I agree 85% with Julius. I'm a huge fan of Julius Malema. I have huge respect for him. Where he lost me was where the EFF as a movement and himself became unnecessarily arrogant to a point where even some of us who followed and supported him, when we asked him questions, he wouldn't want to respond and he'd be arrogant in his tone. At a time where South Africans are complaining about borders and illegal foreigners, where he claims to speak on behalf of the people, he's not listening to those same people, which is why the EFF would get punished at the election. So that was my frustration.
Generally, you
85%, Umalema is one of the greatest young leaders. He's the greatest young leader we've had in this country post the struggle heroes. I don't think we've had another one outside of him.
True.
If you're not speaking Julius, everyone else was Abo Zuma, Abo Mbeki, Abo those guys from before.
True.
Julius, even in his class of Abo Fikile Mbalula, Malusi Kikaba, he's
Miles,
it almost feels like he was there with the struggle guys. That's how powerful he is.
Yeah.
We had Nhlanhla Lux as the face of Operation Tudula and as the leader of Soweto Parliament, and then very soon he disappeared. With that, we had the student leaders of the Fees Must Fall.
Yeah.
Onompindulo Mkhatshwa, I think Vuyani Pambo, who's with the EFF. They've been absorbed into political structures and they've also kind of disappeared from what I wanted them to become. Maybe we can speak, maybe Zandile Tabula now with Operation Tudula. And then I guess we've got some guys in business. I don't know if they're doing enough, but I mean, the inspiration, Theo Baloipa to Likao Sehowana with Drip, even though we had some challenges, Latuma Ngogolo with Makosa. I maybe can speak about the Mapiano guys. There are leaders who are doing something.
Would you mention Vusi Thembekwayo?
I'd mention him as Vusi is difficult because he's not building a constituency. So if we speak Maporisa and Kabza the Small, we can link to other guys that they've uplifted and if we speak Zandile Tabula, we can see the leaders of Operation Tudula and the work. When we speak Malema and Nhlanhla Lux, Soweto Parliament, with Vusi, it's similar to maybe like a Trevor Noah. He's a brand on his own and he's doing brilliantly globally. But we can't say this is his team. These are the kids that he's uplifted and these are the places that he's going. He's a great speaker, but I'm not aware of him having a value system as a template to say, oh no, I'm doing this because Vusi Thembekwayo said we must do this and build here, and he's supporting us in that way. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, 100%.
But he's a brilliant mind. He's a brilliant voice. He's got great ideas, etc. But I don't think he has a constituency.
But isn't that the problem, the Black Pen? That, for leaders to thrive, we need constituency. And that's how politicians have thrived, because they have the backing of a constituency. Don't you think we've reached a stage in human history where we need to open up space, like for people like Vusi Thembekwayo, and who don't necessarily have constituency, but we give them space?
I think Vusi has a lot of space and he creates his own space. I don't think we need to give him space. There was a question you asked earlier as well. I don't think young leaders need space. I think you create your own space. You force, you kick and scream. Our biggest success stories were not built by government. It's people that, the examples I just gave you now, and I can add again, Trevor Noah, Black Coffee. They didn't ask for anyone's permission. Black Coffee wasn't sent by the South African government to go and play music. Trevor Noah wasn't sent by the South African government. Vusi Thembekwayo is not supported by the South African government or a king or a chief or a specific church to go and be a leader. He did that himself. My point was, people like Vusi, he is a leader to many. He is a voice to many. But I see him more as, let's say, a TD Jakes, where he is a preacher. He inspires, he motivates, he gives ideas. But we're speaking, or I'm speaking at least, Moses. I'm speaking a movement where you're saying Maporisa has taken these guys there. I'm saying Nhlanhla Lux took these people there. Vusi Thembekwayo is brilliant for the mind, but I can't currently, I could be wrong. I can't say he's taken people there. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I think if my growth fund, his investment company, if we could see the businesses they've invested in and that they've grown, I'd then put him in the same bracket as Ola Duma, Abo Patu, etc. Where I'm saying, hey, Fetu, you know, this company has. So then it becomes these are the people he's taken somewhere versus being a voice.
No, I get you.
We get accused, myself as well, we podcast, we make a lot of videos, and the question is, we hear you. You inspire us, it's great, but
what are you doing?
Where are we going?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And it's a fair thought and it's a fair challenge. Because for those of us who claim we want to really lead, you do need the constituency. And this is not even a political term.
Yeah.
The constituency is basically saying, this is my community, this is my congregation, whatever the case may be. And as I said with the pastors, I can prove that when I met these people, when these people came to me, this is where they were. And since they followed me, this is where we are now. And I'm saying that to me is a leader.
Okay.
We do not have those people in South Africa, or it's arguable that we have those leaders. And if I could have a wish, besides breaking all the borders, I wish we could have 1,000 young people, 1,000 in this country, that are all going to put up their hands and who are all going to nominate a neighborhood, an area, a kasi, maybe even a church or a business community, and say, I will focus on helping these people, and I'm going to spend the next 30 years doing everything in my power to uplift these people.
Yeah.
I don't care about the rest of South Africa. I don't care about Africa. I don't care about the world. My investment is here. So our roads are good.
Wow.
Our water and electricity is good. The children here are thriving. I can tell you now that families are now united. People are in good health. People have traveled. We are adding value in other spaces. And when you get to a level where we almost, like Abelung, let's say people like Abu Patrice Motsipe, who are fully empowered. Patrice can say, since my family is good, since my foundation is good, since my company is good, I can now inspire other people, but we are fine. And I can show you what I've done as a leader in my space.
Is that the same model of Orania? I know you went to Orania some time back. Is it the same kind of approach to say, focus on this community, let it be local and let us grow from there?
100%. In my opinion, I currently feel it's the only solution. I feel the only solution is to focus on fixing a community. I think we are so distracted by issues that are so out of our control. What's happening in Israel and Gaza and Palestine? What's happening in Russia and Ukraine? Donald Trump enforcing tariffs. What's happening? We're based in Joburg. What's happening in the Cape Flats? What's happening in West Africa and the Sahel with Abu Traore and the leaders of Mali, etc.? What's happening with the Kagame and Rwanda and the DRC and all those guys? We can't impact those things. All we can do is make noise, to be honest, on social media. But where you can make a real impact is where you live,
where you are,
where you work, where your kids go to school. You would rather invest all your time and energy and efforts in everyone and everywhere else instead of volunteering at your child's school, instead of going into your neighborhood and picking up litter, instead of going to community meetings and saying, we want to have a patrol here so that there's less crime. Let's deal with Onyaupe. And one of the reasons I admire Nkulaleko so much, he bashes a lot of politicians because he says when you look at the members of parliament, if you could take each one of them and go back to where they come from, can they show you how they've uplifted that place to a point where they deserve to sit in parliament? Because if you're going to tell me the president is from Chawelo, as an example, can he point and say, this is what I've done at Chawelo?
You can trust.
If you look at the roads, look at what I've done at home.
Yeah.
And then after Chawelo, look at what I did in Soweto. And then look at what I did in Johannesburg. I deserve to be president. We as ordinary people, the young leaders I'm speaking to, if you could just adopt, like Orania, your neighborhood and say, I will turn this into Dubai. I will turn this into Hong Kong. I will turn this into Sandton, Mhlanga, Camps Bay. That's my project. That's all we ever ask of you.
At what point should we take responsibility as black people? And basically that's what you are saying. But I'm saying a workable plan or a point of departure. Where do we take responsibility and stop playing victim? We say we want to take responsibility. Yes, it's been 30 years. But maybe, where do these leaders come from? They don't fall from heaven.
Yeah.
We actually appoint them. We elect them. During the elections, I mean, we go, you see brilliant young people with a master's degree, but still, ANC t-shirt, but there's no rationality in that. Where do we take responsibility? The same pastors who are messing up with people, it's people who are following them. Where do we say, but maybe these people are not a problem. Yeah. We are the problem.
As I said earlier, we were physically dominated and conquered, and then psychologically. And the physical, speaking to accountability, is also easy to solve. Maybe I'll mention that last. The psychological, until people understand that your mind is not owned by you, they will never get it. So yes, they've become sheep. Yes, they just do whatever. But the reality is they're not even aware. When they go to church, when they go and vote, they don't understand who is that pastor and that preacher and who decided that that's what you should follow. Why do these political parties get funding and are the ones that you can vote? They're the only ones you can vote for. I do not think leaders are appointed. I do not think leaders are voted for or elected. I believe true leaders exist and they lead. They don't need permission. They don't need a qualification. They don't need anyone's approval. I mean, leadership, like I said, is picking up dirt. It's doing neighborhood patrol. It's going to a school and volunteering to work. You don't need anyone to come and call you. Please, Samex, can you come in? I am now a leader. Leading is something that you just do naturally on your own.
It's not a position, it's a function.
100%. Yeah. So once people understand that their minds are not their own, they need to start the hard work. This is the hardest work. The hardest work. How do I decolonize my mind so that whatever I think, whatever decision I make is not destroying me, but it's building me? When I pick up and I drink something, am I drinking it because I saw an advert on TV? Am I drinking it because the girl that I think is pretty was drinking it? Am I drinking it because they are out, take us, you're like, I must shy, or am I drinking it because what is in here makes me healthy? It makes me strong. The Chinese and the Japanese are healthy because they drink tea throughout the day. They drink different teas and they can explain to you why they drink rooibos, chai tea, green tea. So when you bring energy drinks, when you bring alcohol, they're like, no thanks. My man, this is the thing. And you're like, no. My mind knows that this is unhealthy for my body. Yeah. I will drink an energy drink when I need a boost. That's when I drink. I don't drink it chilling. Jay. That's now just what you consume in your body. The medication that I'm taking when I'm decolonized, is this medication going to cure me? Or is it going to make me addicted to the medication where I constantly need to go back? This schooling system where I'm sending my kids, is it going to give my children the tools to come back and fix the home? My child comes back from school and I have to tell them to wash the dishes. And what are you learning at school? Are you not learning about cleaning your environment? Are you not learning about looking after yourself, about fixing your family? I see you walk past rubbish and you didn't pick it up. But mom, so what are you learning at school? When I send you to church and you come back, husband and wife, do you come back from church and you're like, yo, I love you so much. I appreciate you. Now that we come back from church, I've gotten the tools that are going to help us have a better, stronger marriage. We now have the tools to raise our kids better. That is when you decolonize. So that becomes the most difficult work. And there are very few people. I mean, like I said with your platform, there are few people that watch this type of content because their colonized minds are addicted and hooked to toxic social media like Twitter. They want to watch reality TV. They want to see the gossip and laugh and bash because that is the program they are on. And when you're trying to lose weight, you need to sacrifice ikota. You need to sacrifice junk. And you need to choose to fast. You need to choose to say, no, not the chips, the salad, please. That's hard work. When you're doing the same in other parts of your life and you're saying, I will do the hard things, you are now taking accountability and ownership. But it's apartheid. But it's ANC. It is me. Why is your street dirty? Local municipality. Local municipality took your hands. You now can't pick up rubbish. Social media is ruining our children. So all the time your child is with you, are you social media?
Where is the teaching from home?
Why is the next door neighbor's child doing well? Why is the next community clean? The same ANC, the same social media, they're not using those excuses. They are using this. And this is what black people need to get right. And if they don't, they need the right type of leaders. And let me close quickly with the land one. The land one is one of the easiest Black people do not want land.
Come on, the Black Pen.
This is like leadership.
Yeah.
When you want land, you take land. I mean, it's not rocket science. We have so much land in this country, so much. Almost 15% of the land is under Amakosi. Almost 15% of the land is under state ownership. That's about 30% under black leadership owner, 30%. There's black ownership, it's very small in the farms, I think 3%. There's small black ownership in residential spaces, and there's land. If you want land, I know the commander-in-chief would say this at some point, go and occupy. It sounds wrong, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, but the people that took that land took it by force. They conquered you. Go and occupy that land. And how we see it today, people are like, but it's illegal. Why do we have squatter camps? Those are people occupying land.
And they are, yeah.
And
they're
they build,
succeeding.
and the government can't move them. And when they move them, they must move them to better land. They have now gotten land being organized.
Not true.
You can put money together and lease land and work it. You can put money together and buy, if you're serious. But how you know they're not serious is that people with tribal land will leave the village and go live in a squatter camp in a shack in a city. And then they'll join an EFF march. We want the land. Chief, you left 100 hectares of prime land. You don't want land, you want money. You want jobs, you want comfort, you want sentient.
You don't want work.
You don't want to build Nongoma, Ngutu, Msinga into sent. You don't want to do that. You want this that's convenient because again, your mind is colonized to repeat the script that politicians keep saying. What do we want? Jobs. What do we want? The land.
In fact, somebody told me that the number one selling product in the world is God. And the second most selling product in the world is poverty.
Yeah.
So selling the idea of God and selling poverty, that is why politicians will never take people out of poverty because it's a product. They thrive on that.
It's a very profitable business.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you, all the thoughts that you are sharing right now, are they based on Penualism?
No. Yes and no. The short answer is no. I'll give you a longer answer. I want to speak about God and poverty. One of the biggest crimes that has been committed to all of humankind, not just black people. We can maybe talk Hindus, we can speak Greeks and Romans, we can speak Christianity, Judaism, Islam, is when the mischievous, powerful elite historically, in wanting to contain power, convinced human beings that God is external. And ever since they did that, this goes back to accountability. It is now God. It's not God. It's not God. It's not God.
Yeah.
It's God. It's not God. Meanwhile, God is within self. And once you understand that you are the creator, once you understand that you are the merciful, once you understand that you are the judge, you are the one that enacts, you then have the power to do godly things. You can create life. You can take life. You can offer people forgiveness. You can judge the good from the bad. But the powerful said God is external. And after they took that from you, they also told you how to get to God. And it's through their systems. God wouldn't like that. Who are you to tell me? Who are you to tell me that God self, who you've made external, won't like this, which is good for my family? So that is the first problem that we have. Number 2 is poverty. Animals do not have poverty, which by definition should tell you that poverty is man-made. Poverty can only be measured with money. And money is not natural, it's man-made. There is nature poverty, by the way. Nature poverty is when there's nothing growing. There are no trees, there are no grass, there's no flowing water. That's where the animals die of drought, famine, the water's contaminated. Animals are migrating for rich nature. But we have that in abundance on the African continent. We are nature wealthy. This poverty is man-made. So I need to find earth if I don't have it. And I need to find food. And if it isn't there, I'm entrusted by nature to feed nature so it can feed me back. I will plant a seed. I will put fertilizer. And I will water this so it can feed me. I will look after this chicken, this goat, this cow, so that it can feed me. I don't need money for that. And the elite, again, created the system so that they take your land, so that if you want access to land, you pay. And how you pay, unfortunately, you have to go through their schooling system and you have to work for them before you get a little bit of money. And you can't even get the land. They'll only let you rent a flat on their land. So it's a very contaminated system that has been designed to control human beings. Penalism as a social experiment is about 5 years old now. And it was my contribution to say all the systems we have in the world have evolved and upgraded and changed. The clothing that we wear, the technologies we use, the foods that we eat, the medicine that we take. But the one thing that no one is challenging is the software of our existence, which is religious, spiritual belief. People follow Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Baha'i, etc. that are thousands of years old. Why are we not allowed to challenge these things and say, no, I'd like something newer? I wear new clothes. I have a new phone. I also have a new religion. And this is one of them.
Yeah.
It borrows from the past in the same way technology borrows from the past.
True.
In the same way clothing borrows from the past. But it's meant to serve the now, moving into the future. And I wrote a book, Penalism Principles, with 30 principles to help people say, Penal is my God. We can then debate what God means to you, etc. That's not important. Penal is my God, but my God in the principle says, I must focus on my community. My God says, I must learn from the foreigner mindset because it looks at opportunities out there. My God tells me that money is not a real thing and I should focus on value. You can give me 1,000 rand. I don't want 1,000 rand. I'd like a cow. No, but a cow costs 20,000. Hey, my man, I don't care how much it costs. You ask me for 2 years worth of labor, my labor. I'm asking you for an animal that takes 2 years to grow, and that's a cow. Don't tell me money. I don't want that. I want this thing. So penalism is that. But where I say yes is penalism is obviously premised on my thoughts and my ideas. So whatever I guess I say or I suggest, some could then argue is penalism.
How far have you come across the man named Osho? And if you have, to what extent has he influenced penalism?
Wild Wild Country on Netflix.
yeah.
Zero influence.
Okay.
Huge fan of his.
Yeah.
And his documentary is a brilliant documentary to watch for anyone who is interested in human psychology and how power works. Another great piece on Netflix as well is there's an episode on the Explained series on cults, which explains how cults work. And now there's a series, I just haven't had time to watch it, on cults themselves. There's one on how dictators are born and how they've run. Your Hitlers, I think your Mussolinis, the Kim family in North Korea, Muammar Gaddafi and others. And that those same guys that did that have followed up to do one on cults. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a big fan of studying cults. I'm a big fan of studying religious leaders, including people like Jesus Christ. I'm a big fan of studying dictators. I'm a big fan of studying leaders that people like, celebrities like Michael Jackson. Anyone who has the power,
Cult.
we can call it a cult.
Yeah, because Michael Jackson as well.
Has had a cult following.
Yeah.
Anyone who has the ability as a single human being to influence as many minds as possible to shift their behavior, whether good or bad, I'm willing to learn from because I want to learn their skills.
Okay.
I want to use it for good, of course. But I guess many of them would argue what they were doing was good.
Yeah.
But I would like to do it for good. But it's to learn human psychology so that I can help hack people's minds to try and make their lives
Your
better.
Machiavellis, I'm sure you like him.
100%. The Prince.
Yeah, the Prince.
Niccolo Machiavelli.
2 questions before we wrap it up. Number 1, you introduced us to a man a few years back, a white man. We didn't know him. You introduced us to him, Rob Hesoff.
Yeah.
And we have seen your relationship on social media evolving.
Yes.
And honestly, based on my views, it looks like he has changed the tone from, when he first came onto the platform. I knew him through you. What are your thoughts on him now? And do you still, for him, particularly his thoughts?
Yeah. So before I met Rob Hesoff, I made a video after he made a speech at the Business Conference. And I was never naive about his interests, himself and the people that he associates with. A lot of it has to do with protecting white privilege. A lot of it has to do with just getting black people to behave. But in that, he was raising very fair concerns in saying, we do have a corrupt government. It is not serving the people. And he was saying things that other people have said, but he was saying it, number one, as a white man, and number two, as a white man that comes from an extremely wealthy white family, which is very unique and rare. And I appreciated his honesty, because too many elite people keep quiet and we come up with these conspiracy theories. We would happen to meet and we would happen to get along, which was great. We've got a lot of mutual interests. Rugby, we'd like this country to work and. The difference is then in the approach. In that time, I have chats with other people, and we're speaking about how to potentially fix this country. And again, I'm not naive about his interests.
Yeah.
He's not about uplifting black people, to be honest. Maybe it's about creating jobs for black people, but as long as their privilege is not disturbed. And I'm like, you know what? I understand. Anyone would say this, whether it's the Liganyanes in Moria, or whether it's the Zulu Kingdom, or whether it's the Royal Bafokeng, no one wants to lose their privilege.
True.
So in the spirit of trying to build, how do we make this make sense? And I thought we were having a conversation. Rob Hersoff, the guys at AfriForum, even when I went to go and visit Oranje and other white people, Donald Trump would happen. And Donald Trump does not represent white supremacy and white racists. But white racists and white supremacists love Donald Trump. He doesn't represent them or them only, but it just so happens. For example, Jacob Zuma does not represent Amazulu or only Amazulu.
True.
But it just so happens that Amazulu love Jacob Zuma. So Donald Trump, in how he moves, in some of his racist undertones, in some of his white supremacist ideals, make America great again. America was great during slavery and the oppression of minorities. He emboldened many white supremacists and racists to say, "Aye, no, we can fully go hard in our beliefs." And I think Rob made a mistake in riding that wave, and he's been riding it now. He's gone to America.
He's up there now. He's
speaking right wing.
He can't hide it anymore.
Pushing some of the false propaganda about white genocide, economic genocide. Yes, they've denied it, but their undertones almost seem like they're agreeing. And it really spins us off any kind of working together. And in that time, I got frustrated because there was a time when the ANC sold out with Anglo-American, Sanlam, some of the big companies before 94.
Yeah.
They decided to take some wealth for themselves, and they changed all the ideals of the Freedom Charter. They went against nationalization, and they said, we'll go with this compromise, which was at the expense of the black majority that had been supporting them. Here I'm saying we've got a second chance to do things better. I know what you guys are about, but I'm trying to explain. You can't do what you did then and try and find Nhlanhla Lux, Penuel, Julius Malema, Nompendulo Mkhajo and say, we'll give you shares as long as you guys get your people to behave. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. We need to be serious, Rob Hersoff, other rich white people, in saying, if you white people want to remain rich, if you want to get even richer, you're going to need to develop black talent.
Do you think he ever tried to buy you?
Literally, no. Figuratively, I will say that Rob Hersoff is no different to any other person I've ever sat with on my platform who has an agenda. Be it a Sangoma, be it someone who's African spirituality, be it a Pan-Africanist, be it someone who's pro-Zimbabwe, be it someone who's pro-black. Everyone wants my voice, my platform to spread their agenda.
All right.
People just get upset if ever it sounds like I'm defending or supporting Rob because they don't like his agenda. But if I defend Zuma, I'm a Zulu tribalist. If I defend Ramaphosa, I'm supporting the corrupt ANC. If I'm sympathetic to undocumented foreigners who are here for a better life, I'm unpatriotic. If I'm visiting Oranje, I love Amapunu. If I understand AfriForum doing work in the community, I'm a sellout. So everyone has an agenda. It just so happens that because Rob comes from the families that became wealthy during colonialism and apartheid, it feels like he's capturing. Everyone is trying to capture me. I just happen to be almost impossible to capture.
All right. Who are some of the smartest people you ever interviewed came to a platform? Smartest.
Vusi Thembewayo, without a doubt. Joshua Maponga, without a doubt. Uputi Umbuso Khoza. Unconventional wisdom and intelligence. Without a doubt. That's just off the top of my head.
Wow.
Miles Berger Califani, Banks, brilliant minds. Some of these guys are in business or they're in politics but there's a couple of ways you measure intelligence. Sorry, I know we don't have time.
Yeah.
Number one, it's your knowledge base. How much knowledge do you have? Very easy to quantify. I've read all the books. Cool. How do you interpret information that you get? That's a form of intelligence.
True.
We can read all the same books but the way you interpret it tells me something. How good are you at solving problems? Is probably my best definition of intelligence. Are you good at small problems, big problems? And then last but not least, what is your ability to influence people? Number one, but to influence them to live better lives. And if you can do that, then you're intelligent to me. And there've been a lot.
Yeah.
Those were just the ones that came off the top of my mind.
The Black Pen, thank you for coming to the platform, brother. Please come back to the show.
Sir Max, thank you so much for the invite. I'm inspired by the work you do. I'm very grateful that some of us are still passionate about the human condition.
Yeah.
We were speaking black today, but the fight is bigger than black. There are people in Asia. There are people in the Americas.
Yeah.
There are people in Europe. There are white people.
Yeah.
There are white people in South Africa. This is a weird one.
Yeah.
There are white people in South Africa who are, they don't know it, but they are actually waiting for a black hero who will liberate them.
Yeah.
They are waiting for some version of a Mandela or a Kolisi who's going to help them decolonize because their own families are broken.
Yeah.
The medicine they take is unhealthy. The food they eat,
Yeah.
they are miserable. They are also oppressed. They are also in the rat race. And there are certain black leaders specifically, who will save their lives. But this is a human condition, and we sit on platforms like this to try and help liberate as many people as possible.
Thank you, brother. Please come back to the platform. It's people like you can help us to grow this platform. And you fit the profile of the caliber of the guest who should grow this platform.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we come to the end of this episode. If you have enjoyed the episode, please subscribe to this channel. It's the only way we can bring you such high-level conversations. I am Sir Max. Kamako.